Like, is that something that I would say is the cartel intimidated by U.S. military? Um, and we had someone on here recently that talked about how a couple of the leaders, right, Los Zetas and stuff like that, even CJNG had some high level military officials or military soldiers train. And so I'm very curious about, have you heard anything about the U.S. special forces or special operations going to battle with cartel?
So, in my whole environment with the cartel, my whole like time there, I absolutely the cartel has the money to hire, the best people, and especially the United States military vets that done tours or leave the military life, and then next thing you know they don't they're looking for jobs just like a private company could actually hire them, and the cartel hires them as well. So there's a lot of uh, American military personnel as well as Mexican military generals and anyone underneath that was actually trained by the United States government, like the Zetas, on both sides. As a matter of fact, Chapo actually, had a general with him, for most of the time, that he was actually in hiding, an ex general. So they use this because they, intelligence tactics, they to train some of their sicarios. So yeah, I'm not sure, to what extent if there's a hierarchy or not, but that's um, been something that they've been doing for quite some time. They'll recruit, generals from different countries as well, and people that have the expertise that could help them out. And that's where they learn how to actually do these drones with, they're dropping bombs, and you see the IUDs now that are popping up everywhere. These are all military tactics that they're actually learning from someone in the military
Yeah.
um, that's been trained very well. And America trains their soldiers very well. And once they leave the military, they have to find other jobs. And something that I was always familiar with was that there's a lot of U.S. personnel that's leaving that would basically find ways to sell military grade weapons to us and to the drug cartels. I know that there's one person who was in charge of like the destruction of weapons for the military. Like that was their job, and basically they would just go and throw something else, say that they destructed certain amount of weapons and then come back and sell them, of every type. And they're always looking for, it's the business, right?
Yeah.
People are actually looking for those jobs, and the cartel will hire them. But you know I will say this is that I want to make it clear, for the cartel, retaliation or going to war with America, that's like the biggest joke to me ever. They're fearful of the United States government as a whole. They're fearful of the laws. They're fearful of imprisonment. They will fight. If they will fight on a battle, if there's a Mencho and he's not gonna turn himself in willingly, they will fight back. But as a collective, like military operations together to fight against America, absolutely not. That's ridiculous. Any thought that there could be any type of retaliation on America, it is a joke. It's a business for them. Everyone has different roles. They work collectively to for as a business, but not everyone wants to die. What you see right now with the sicarios, they're lower level people. They're killing themselves. Yes, they do use that the violence as to put pressure on the government, to put pressure on people. But most of there's this unwritten rule where you don't attack or you don't use violence against American law enforcement officers. It's bad for business. Now there's a lot of rogue criminals, right? Stuff happens all the time, and I think that nowadays it's like anything happens at the border, anything that happens as Mexicans, like it's a cartel.
Yeah.
Stuff happens, but most of these cartel leaders understand the power and of America and don't necessarily think about the consequences when they're actually doing the infighting right now, and they're going to realize it. And I think that it has to happen. It has to, one good military operation to basically show that what they're capable of. They are trained. I do believe they will. They can fight back on an operation against, to capture a drug lord, but that's about it. I don't, the people is not going to churn and help them. You being, part of the, you go to the border all the time. The Mexican people are tired of this more than anyone. They
Yeah.
live hostage to this criminal activity, and again, it's a business, right? A lot of those people who are important to the business. They're not in Culiacan. They're not in the war battles. You're not going to see the important people that are carrying, that know where all the money's at and are structuring the cocaine shipments and fentanyl shipments at going at war with another cartel. They're somewhere else in a different cities, and enjoying their life. So I think that everything has to be taken into account, and I understand that with everything that's been going on, especially at the border, especially with drug cartels, like it's something to worry about. But I 100% know that the United States government will have no issues. Not because they're not capable, because that's not what they're meant to do. They're not a militia. They're not, they're not playing politics. So I do believe that not only would it help Mexico, I think it could help the United States as well. But more needs to be done. I think there's more needs to be done at the border. More needs to be done, in basically attacking um, the business of what it is, the drug business. And I think collectively, if the government puts a good plan together, I think that it could have a real big impact.
Dude, I love it, man. Jay, honestly, thank you for opening up. Thank you for telling us your story, and thank you for the insight. I think our audience is gonna honestly really enjoy this interview, man.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you for having me on, and it's been a privilege. One thing I before we go, I do think it's important to kind of point out that today I feel like I'm risking my life training law enforcement officers, and I think that these are some of the things that I'm always explaining to them, giving them an inside look on the business.